It's time once again for the greatest wrestling podcast on the internet. That's right, it's time for the O Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, CW. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to hit that bell on YouTube and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcasting app. Today, we're talking about Santos Escobar. One of the greatest wrestlers on SmackDown has now broken away from the LWO to forge his own path once again. And I am here for it. Little backstory. I did not know who Santos Escobar was a year ago. And I was introduced to this wrestler during the World Cup tournament on SmackDown, where, what was it? Ricochet. You know what? I'm not going to remember who was in that tournament. All I remember was that Santos was part of it. He was introduced to me via I can never say the name of his faction, Legado del Fantasma. And I remember him wrestling Ricochet for that World Cup thing. I believe Ricochet won, which gave him the match with Gunther for the IC title, which he lost. But Santos was an interesting wrestler. He had a lot of flair. He had a lot of pizzazz. He was really good on the mic. He represented the lucha libre elitist angle, which I'm a big fan of, and I don't know why. I really like I'm a rich, well-dressed lucha libre and I'm better than you kind of thing, right? But for whatever reason, him Santos and his crew of, let's be honest, flunkies, didn't get the job done, and they were kind of not even in the middle of the pack. They were very much at the bottom, but they had style. They had they had the thing, the wrestling thing, the thing you look for in professional wrestling. They had the look, they had the skill, they have that heritage, they have everything, honestly. And I wish the other two guys who, look, this is how poorly they use them. I don't know their names, and I won't learn them, but Joaquin and something, it doesn't matter. I wish they used them more because they are incredible. I've watched their matches. They do incredible things. They were able to highlight their skills in a couple of matches, maybe a month or two ago, and they're great. But they don't get the spotlight for whatever reason. Maybe they can't speak on the mic. Maybe it's not their time. But in this era, I don't know if you can call it an era, but in this time of tag team resurgence, let's call it, they need to do something with those guys and give them a platform. And SmackDown is rapidly becoming, and you can see it, it's rapidly becoming a lucha libre show, and I'm here for all of it because the matches that these lucha are putting on are incredible. Now let's double back. So that's where I first met Santos, and I was like, oh, he's cool, and he's a heel, which is good. Heels are great, but he wasn't getting the push, right? He got the push to the World Cup thing, lost it. I still think he should have won. I don't think Ricochet needed that. He didn't need that loss. I think Santos losing to Gunther was a better story moving forward. But it all served. I'm sure it wasn't long term, but it served as a stepping stone for him to get onto the roster, get people to see him, to get him in a position where he can make a bigger impact, right? And I can already see, as someone who works in the world of branding and whatnot, there were conversations backstage that they said, look, he's good, his team is good, this name has to go because it's too hard to say and you can't equate anyone to it. All the pomp and circumstance and is that how you say it? Pomp and circumstance? I don't know. And the logo they have and the music and everything is fantastic. The name is terrible. How do we get them over? So they pair them with Rey Mysterio. Now, I think if you look at probably one full year of storytelling with Santos Escobar has been perfect for that character. Think about it. They paired Santos with Rey Mysterio. They gave him the angle of Rey Mysterio has always been my idol. He's my hero. And he's dealing with his son who, is being belligerent. He's being an ass to his own father. And I'm not going to take that. And this is coming from a heel. So I remember watching the moments where he was like, hey, Rey, are you good? Do you need help? Whatnot. When he was talking to Rey, and I'm like, are they turning Santos face? And they sure as hell were. And they had a great face turn for him where he brought out the mask. I still wish he'd bring the mask back. Where Santos brought out his mask. He aligned himself with Rey. He, fought off the Judgment Day. He was there at Rey's side when, he was wrestling at Wrestlemania. All this stuff. Full face turn on the back of one of the greatest, not only Lucha Libre, but one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. And one of the most beloved. I don't even remember a time when Rey Mysterio was a heel. I'm sure there was a point, but I don't remember it. The man's been a face forever. So they pair him with him. They get him in the orbit of Rey Mysterio. Now think about that. Rey is the sun. And they shoot, Santos at him. And Santos just this is a bad analogy because you don't orbit the sun. Well, not so close. Screw it. We're going to keep going. He orbits Rey Mysterio, and he's just picking up speed, flying around this white hot entity of Rey Mysterio. They go and they start LWO, which solves the problem that I stated earlier, where they can't say the name of their faction, but they bring everybody in. Zelina Vega's in, whatnot. They're having a great time. They go to Backlash. They have an incredible Backlash in Puerto Rico. They get over so hard. Bad Bunny's there. They're fighting the Judgment Day. It's incredible. LWO goes over in incredible ways. They have this angle with, Santos is trying to get the U.S. title. He gets injured. He can't do it. Rey steps in. Rey gets the title. Rey wrestles him for the title. He loses. Yada, yada, yada. Flash forward. We have Logan Paul wrestling Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio loses. It's kind of Santos' fault, right? You see the resentment in the storyline. We come full circle. Carlito comes in, accuses Santos of, costing Rey the match. Santos basically goes, yeah, and then he's a heel again, right? So they pair him with Rey, get people on his side. They're like, people need to like you. People need to enjoy watching matches of you. They have to see how good you are on the mic. And then we're going to fire you off into the stratosphere off the back of, this momentum you have with Rey into your heel role again. So he started as a heel. They paired him with Rey. He rocketed off of Rey last SmackDown and got so much heat for what he did. Zelina came out and slapped his ass. He beat the hell out of his own tag team. Two on one, he beat the shit out of both of them by himself. That's what I'm saying. I don't even need to know these guys' names. They booked them so poorly. And now he's on his own as a heel, and that's fantastic. He is going to be a great foil for someone like Dragon Lee, who I think they're building up to go against Santos, because on SmackDown he said, I want to honor Rey. Same thing. He wants to honor Rey. So they brought in Axiom, and they had an incredible banger of a match. And I think they're moving Dragon Lee to take on Santos. But I love the storyline. I love what they're doing with these guys. And if you don't watch SmackDown, go watch SmackDown. It's a fantastic display of wrestling every week, especially when they put on Dragon Lee and Cedric Alexander and all these high flyers and strong dudes. It's incredible. How are you feeling about Santos's storyline over the past year? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. This has been the Old Wrestling Podcast, and don't you ever forget.
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah.